Wait, you're a Bears fan and you're not subscribed to my channel? Before this video starts, make sure to 1. Hit the subscribe button below to catch all Bears content right here on this podcast. 2. Hit the bell notification because you, my friend, are a diehard Bears fan. And 3. Like this video and tell all the Bears fans you know about the channel. Alright, that's better. Now that you're actually subscribed to the channel, make sure to bear down and enjoy this video.
Now this is a podcast all about Bears. You either cheering for this team or just pulling your hair. I like to take a minute, just sit right back and tell you how I became the #1 Bears fan.
That boy is Benny Hunter.
Cake on the mic, cake on the mic, cake on the mic, cake on the mic. People, this the intro. Sacramento, California, born and raised. And Antelope is where I spend most of my days. Talk bad about my team, you must be a clown. This is Keek on the mic, so you know you better bear down. Bear down.
Hey, what's going on, Bears fans? Thank you so much for joining me for another episode of Keek on the Mic, the podcast all about the Chicago Bears. Before I get this episode started, make sure you hit that subscribe button and the bell notification to catch all Bears content right here on the podcast. Make sure you follow me on all my social media platforms, and make sure you share this episode of Keek on the Mic with every single Bears fan you know. But before I get this episode started, I have to tell you guys about MyBookie. You like easy money? Thanks to MyBookie and their lock of the season, if either team scores in the NFL season opener, you win. If you didn't know, a game hasn't ended 0-0 since World War II, so this is a sure bet. Head to MyBookie.ag, select the lock of the season, and if any team scores between the Dallas Cowboys and the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, you win. The best bet you can make is the one you can't lose. MyBookie is also playing host to several exclusive contests, including the $100,000 Super Contest, and only costs $10 to enter. There's big money on the line this season, so don't wait to get in the game. Join now. Head to MyBookie.ag today and use your promo code KOTM and instantly receive double your first deposit. That's double your funds to double your winnings. Again, that's promo code KOTM to receive double your first deposit and get started with MyBookie today. Bet anything, anytime, anywhere with MyBookie. Chicago Bears fans, we have finally made it to week 1 of the NFL season. Starting Thursday, football is officially back when the Dallas Cowboys take on the defending Super Bowl champions, Tampa Bay Buccaneers. And that means, yes, Bears fans, the Bears open up with the Los Angeles Rams on Sunday Night Football. I am hyped. I am locked and ready to go. That means there's going to be a lot of Bears content this week and moving forward as we get into full swing of the NFL season. So make sure you hit that subscribe button so you don't miss any content right here on Keek on the Mic. I'm super excited. This is officially like my first full NFL season with the Chicago Bears as a Bears podcaster. So I am ready to go. So I don't want you guys to miss any Bears content right here on Keek on the Mic. So on today's podcast, I am going to be giving you guys 3 bold predictions for this year's Chicago Bears 2021 season. And like always, comment down below in the comment section and give me your bold predictions for this year's season. So starting off with number 1, my first bold prediction for the Chicago Bears this season. Chicago will have 2 1,000-yard receivers. And you already know my first one. You know Allen Robinson's going to do what he does. Allen Robinson will be an 1,000-yard receiver once again. And this is a team last year, like we mentioned. We already know this. They were terrible in the passing game. They ranked 22nd in passing yards and 26th in yards per pass attempt. Yet, Allen Robinson still managed to have 1,250 receiving yards on the year. Before I go any further, Chicago Bears, pay the man. Pay Allen Robinson. He is our number 1 receiver. So I fully anticipate Allen Robinson topping that mark again and having a 1,000-yard season. At this point, it doesn't matter who is throwing Allen Robinson. I could throw my grandma out there at quarterback, and Allen Robinson will still have a 1,000-yard season. So A-Rob will have his 1,000 yards. But I think you guys understand where I'm going with this one. Our second 1,000-yard receiver will be Mr. Darnell Mooney. We already know that Darnell Mooney is set to explode this season and have that second-year leap that we're all anticipating. And I'm so excited to see it. Darnell Mooney, this is my argument with this one. Darnell Mooney, in only 9 games as a starting wide receiver, has 631 receiving yards and 4 touchdowns. And that was only in 9 games. So that means with a full slate where he's starting every single game as wide receiver number 2, I fully anticipate Darnell Mooney to hit that 1,000-yard mark. I'm not sure how you guys feel about that, but that is my bold prediction that we will have 2 1,000-yard wide receivers. And this also plays a factor that I think even with Andy Dalton, we will have better quarterback play. And then eventually, Justin Fields will come in. And we all know how much Darnell Mooney already loves Justin Fields. So I fully anticipate both Allen Robinson and Darnell Mooney to have 1,000-yard seasons. And this would be a beautiful sight to see, because essentially that means, hopefully, that means the offense is moving right along and it's looking really good. Bold prediction number 2, Bears fans. Justin Fields will at least play 8 games this season. And I think that's going to be a lot of Bears fans' bold predictions. I feel like you guys are going to agree with me on this one, because I do feel like Andy Dalton, we all know this, he is the early season starter. But he is not the long-term answer. This is we already know this. This is just me sounding like a broken record. We already know that Justin Fields is the future. So we know that Andy Dalton will play the first, probably at least four weeks. But let me tell you guys this, Bears fans, and this is what I started thinking earlier today. It actually makes sense that Justin Fields sits a little bit, especially in the first 9 weeks where the Bears play teams like the Rams, the Packers, the Browns, the Bucs, and the Steelers. All teams that have really good defenses. That means that gives Justin Fields time to sit back and learn. And yes, I want to see Justin Fields play just like you guys do. I wish Justin Fields was starting week 1, but that's not the case. It's Andy Dalton's time. Let's see what Andy Dalton can do. But trust me on this. Justin Fields will play at least 8 games this season. I truly think in my heart of hearts that Andy Dalton won't play absolutely amazing football, will be a mediocre football team through the first 8 games, and then in the second half of the season, the Chicago Bears are going to be like, you know what? We're ready to see our first-round quarterback, Justin Fields. I feel like he gives us the best chance to win, and then that means Justin Fields will finish out the season, and that is my second bold prediction. Like I said, I wish he was starting week 1, but it is Andy Dalton's time. We have to respect that as Bears fans, but I do anticipate that Justin Fields will not be on the bench for long. My final bold prediction for this year's Chicago Bears season is Chicago will have a winning record. Yes, but I'm not finished. Chicago will have a winning record, people, but they will miss the playoffs. And before you attack me, let me explain why. I do feel that improved quarterback play. I do feel like Andy Dalton is a little bit more of an improvement from Nick Foles and Mitch Trubisky. And I think you guys should agree with me on that. Improved quarterback play will make this Chicago Bears team hopefully more balanced, make the offense a little bit more balanced. Because what Andy Dalton brings is I think he brings game management to the quarterback decision, the quarterback room. I think he's not going to make hopefully the terrible mistakes. He's just going to manage the game with that pretty talented defense for the Chicago Bears. He's going to do the job, what he needs to do in order to get the Chicago Bears wins. And I think that's going to make a small improvement in the win total. When I say small improvement, though, I think the Bears will just go 9-8. And I said this earlier in the offseason that I truly feel in my hearts of hearts that the ceiling for this team is a 9-8 football team. Essentially, a 9-8 season this year is an 8-8 year with the added game. With 17 games, that's just another 8-8 year. It's a winning record once again for Matt Nagy. And I'm truly confident that they can hit that mark. But getting back to the postseason, especially when you're going to be fighting in the wild card race, may be tough for the Chicago Bears. For example, when you look at the other wild card teams in the NFC, you have teams like the Washington football team, the San Francisco 49ers, which will be probably a pretty good football team. Then you have the Arizona Cardinals. That is also going to be a very good football team. The good thing for the Chicago Bears in this situation is that we play the 49ers and we play the Cardinals. So if we can win those games, this bold prediction could be totally wrong. If we can win those type of games with teams that are also fighting in the wild card race, I think the Bears may go maybe win 10 to 11 games somehow and get into the wild card as a 6 or 7 seed. That's the best case scenario. But when you have teams like Washington, that's a really improved football team, even with Fitzpatrick. You have the Niners, with still that very good defense. Jimmy Garoppolo, I think, is still a pretty decent quarterback. They have good offensive weapons. Then you have Arizona Cardinals with a revamped defense. They added a lot of talent on that offense. I think it's going to be very tough for this football team, even with a winning record at 9-8, to get into the postseason as a wild card team. Yes, the Chicago Bears last year made it at 8-8, but I don't feel like that's going to be the case this year. And then another point I want to bring up. Also, if the Chicago Bears can't score points, a healthy Green Bay team, meaning a healthy Aaron Rodgers, I think will still own the Chicago Bears. It's the truth. Green Bay and Aaron Rodgers owns the Chicago Bears, so that means at the moment, I'm not really confident that the Chicago Bears can win the division. And let me say this lightly, Bears fans. I hope the Chicago Bears can prove me wrong. If the offense can come out and put up, let's say, 21 to 22 or 25 points a game somehow, and the defense comes back and has a resurgence, I am very confident that the Bears will make a push to win the NFC North. And that can add on to another bold prediction. If the offense comes out to play, I think the Chicago Bears can push to win the NFC North. But at the same time, with Aaron Rodgers has owned us for years, so that also plays in the factor of being a winning football team but missing the playoffs. Because if we're 9-8, that means the Packers are probably going to be 13-3 or 14-3 again, right? That means they will be well ahead of winning the NFC North once again. So I expect the Chicago Bears to be in the wild card hunt for most of the season. So those games that I mentioned earlier, against the Niners, against the Cardinals, those are games that the Chicago Bears are going to have to win. But I fully anticipate at their ceiling with Andy Dalton, if they did stick with Andy Dalton for a full season, I anticipate the ceiling for him would be a 9-8 record, and I think the Bears would miss the playoffs barely. But that's not technically a bad thing, Bears fans. I know you guys may hate me for that bold prediction, but that's not technically a bad thing, because that means we're still a winning football team at 9-8, even though we missed the playoffs. And that also means we're 9-8, a winning football team, and we have a bright future at the quarterback position. So things will be looking up for the Chicago Bears. And then love or hate Matt Nagy, if he goes 9-8 once again, that still makes him a winning football coach. I'm not sure how he's doing it, but I would still make him a winning football coach for the Chicago Bears. So those are my 3 bold predictions for the 2021 season. Like I said, make sure you comment down below in the comment section and let me know your bold predictions for the Chicago Bears this season. I would love to hear them. This is week 1 of the NFL season. Make sure you guys keep tuning in to Keek on the Mic. I'll have a bunch of videos posted this week, so make sure you hit the bell notification, hit the subscribe button to catch all Bears content right here on the podcast. Make sure you follow me on all my social media platforms, and make sure you share this episode of Keek on the Mic with every single Bears fan that you know. And also, make sure you check out MyBookie and get your bets on for the Dallas Cowboys versus the Tampa Bay Buccaneers this Thursday night. I hope you guys are excited like me, but other than that, I'll catch you for an all-new Bears podcast right here on Keek on the Mic. Thanks, guys.
You ain't bout it, you ain't bout it, you ain't Keek on the mic. You ain't bout it, you ain't bout it, you ain't Keek on the mic. You can go and subscribe, cause I be on it right. You ain't bout it, you ain't bout it, you ain't Keek on the mic.